Alright guys, in this video I'm going to show you why you should start using TypeScript in year 2021 for your future projects or to convert your existing projects to the TypeScript. So to make my point, I'm going to show you a couple of scenarios where JavaScript will easily ignore the errors which are very obvious in nature and TypeScript will easily catch them during the compile time or while you are authoring the programs. Okay, let's create a function here, that is some function which takes two arguments a and b, and in this function we return the sum of two variables a and b. So as the author of this function, I know this function accepts two arguments that should be of type number, so I will supply that. So I will say const x equal to sum 1 comma 3 and I will log the output to the console. So after saving the changes, I'm going to cd into the current directory and type node index.js to run the script, which output 4, which is as per our expectation. So let's say there is another employee who joined later into the organization and he used this function. So instead of passing 3 here, he passed some array here, which is having 3 as first item at the 0th index. So let's see the output of this function now. So now it outputs 13. So what the hell is going on here? So basically what is happening is the JavaScript is automatically converting this into a string and this as well into a string, and it concatenates both the things and print out 13. So prove my point, let's print out the type of the x. So if I print out this, it should give me a string. Well, we were passing two numbers. Why the output is string? As I already mentioned that JavaScript converted this into a string and converted this as well into a string. That's why it's throwing this error. Well, we can easily fix this by making a check here. So if I say if type of a not equal to number or type of b not equal to number, then what should I do? I should throw error that says invalid input. Alright. Now if I try to run this program again, you will see we get that error, input is invalid. You should correct your input, and once I correct the input again, change it back to 4 and run the program again, you should see there are no issues. And if I print the output of x, it should give us output of 5 now. So this is very simple example that I have given you where JavaScript easily skipped all those issues and it let us push this code into production, and it failed there because JavaScript is interpreted language. So anything that happens on runtime, and this issue will actually happen on the production, not on your dev server. So next example that I'm going to give you is, so let's say I have a object. Let's call this object as person, and a person object is having a name and name is set to Gulshan. And now if I try to access a property that does not exist on this object like age, what should I get? Well, you guessed this correctly, it will give me undefined. However, it was very obvious that this property didn't exist. So JavaScript should have ideally stopped me before compiling anything and should have told me that, boss, this is the issue. You should not proceed further. Either you put a property here that says age and give it some value. Otherwise, you should not be able to use this. So if I print now age, it will print 24 for me. So that was an easy fix, right? Let's take another example now. Again, a function divide by 2, and this takes a number, and this number will be divided by 2. So I will say a by 2. All right. Now if I call this function with an invalid value, divide by 2, and I pass a string here like s, it should be very obvious that this function will give me an error. But however, JavaScript won't complain anything about it, and it will let me run this function and it will give an error. So after looking at all these conditions, let's see how we can fix these issues by using TypeScript. So let me create a new file, touch index.ts. To use TypeScript, you need to use a TypeScript extension, and I will open index.ts file. So whatever the code we have written here, we will copy over this code to the ts file. Okay. So let's fix these issues one by one using the TypeScript. So let's say this is the function, and I can get rid of this checks now, and I can also uncomment this just to make sure our function is working as expected. So instead of having that condition that check whether the input is being a number or not, I can just directly put a number here, and I can also make another check to make second argument is also a number. All right. So if I compile this, to compile this, I need to just do tsc index.ts. This will compile my code into JavaScript, and now I can invoke this using node index.js, and you can see the output is 5. However, if I try to now pass empty array, see what issue we are getting here: duplicate function implementation, and here you are getting cannot redeclare block scoped variable x. So what this issue is, TypeScript is telling me that this function is already declared inside this block scope. So to fix this issue, what we need to do is we need to remove the index.js file. And once you do that, these issues will go away automatically. So now if I try to run this by typing tsc index.js, it will again compile my TypeScript code. And you will see here, argument of type undefined is not assignable to parameter of type number. So TypeScript here is able to catch the issue, and it is telling us you are not allowed to pass the array here, you should pass a number here. Okay, so once I fix this issue, I pass a number here and again try to compile this. You will see TypeScript compiled the file. Now I can run it using node index.js, and you will see output as 10. These red underlines you see here, these are due to some issues in the VS Code. It is not able to refresh this page. However, trust me, these issues are fixed now, otherwise TypeScript would not have compiled our file. Okay, let's comment this and move on to the next function. Here we have defined an object and an age of 24. So once we try to access a property that does not exist on the person object like gender, so TypeScript should automatically identify this issue and while compiling. So let's compile our file. You see here property gender does not exist on type name string. So this is telling us that, hey, this property does not exist on this object which you are trying to access. Please make sure whether the property exists or not. Otherwise, you can't use that property. So let's define the property gender and provide a value to it. Now try to compile this again, and you can see TypeScript was able to successfully compile this file. Now we can use node index.js to see the output, and you get the output as male. And the last example that we have seen earlier was a function that was divided by 2. Let's uncomment this and put a console.log just below this to see the value. Divide by 2 and put z here. As of now, you see that it is not giving any error. If I try to compile this, you will see no errors because we haven't defined any type of this variable a. However, as soon as I define a type of variable a, you will see when I try to compile this again, TypeScript will throw me an error that will say argument of type string is not assignable to parameter of type number. So again, TypeScript was able to catch this error during the compilation itself. However, JavaScript totally missed it because JavaScript will try to figure out all these things during runtime, either in the browser environment or the node environment. That's why it won't throw error right away, and the error will be figured out by somebody else in your team, or it will be reported by client. So as you can see here, once we fix this and switch it back to some other number like 3 and try to compile the file again, it will successfully compile this. And if I type node index.js, it will give me the desired output. So I hope by now I have convinced you enough to use TypeScript in your future projects, whether they are of small scale, whether they are of large scale. This will definitely help in reducing the number of bugs that will be pushed to the production. Also, it will avoid unnecessary code like we have seen in the previous example, that we have put the checks of if and else to check whether the input is of type number or function. So those kind of checks are also not required when you are using TypeScript. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button and subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell notifications to get latest updates whenever I post a new video. See you in next one.